So the year is 2050. You're driving to visit your friend who lives at the other end of the city. Or more likely, you're being driven by your car. It's fully automated, so all you have to do is relax and enjoy the ride. You get bored, so you decide to play a game and start counting delivery drones flying over you. 35, 36, 37. The traffic lights change to white and you know exactly what to do. Yes, traffic lights of the future could have an extra color, white. This artificially intelligent light is supposed to make passing through intersections easier for self-driving vehicles, help traffic flow faster, and reduce fuel consumption. The green light will still mean go. The red light will still say stop. And the white light will be a signal for human drivers and passengers to follow the vehicles in front of them going through the intersection. The self-driven cars won't have to see the white traffic light. They will get data from it wirelessly within a certain range. The system will recommend an optimal speed and give priority to the road with more traffic on it. The white light will activate when there are enough self-driving cars approaching the intersection. The computer will then figure out the most efficient order for them to go or stop. And if this new type of traffic light is introduced before we completely switch to autonomous vehicles, there will still be old cars on the road. When they outnumber the self-driven ones at the intersection, the white light will switch off by itself. Running simulations of the new tech showed that the more self-driven cars there are on the road, the faster the traffic is going. We still don't have the tech to introduce the white light at every intersection, but researchers at North Carolina State University who are behind the idea believe it's possible. It would take money and time, but would also help save money and time in the long run. If you're impressed by the fourth color on the traffic light, imagine augmented reality right in your vehicle. Road signs and traffic alerts will pop up on your windshield like a sci-fi movie. There could also be custom notifications, apps, and entertainment. Looks like you'll never be bored on the highway again. And neither will your car, since it will communicate with others of its kind via a vehicle-to-vehicle or V2V system. Cars will exchange data on speed, location, and safety warnings to make the right driving decisions. Roadworks, although done for your own good and safety, can be pretty frustrating. Well, there might be no need for that with self-repairing roads. Researchers from several British universities have created a concrete blend with tiny capsules full of special bacteria. These capsules come from lakes near volcanoes and can survive for up to 200 years without oxygen and food. They activate their healing superpowers when they come in contact with water, which is the main cause of potholes. After feeding on water, the bacteria produce limestone, which seals up the imperfections on the roads. Tests have shown this brilliant idea actually works. Wow! When this tech goes global, it should reduce road maintenance costs by 50%. It's especially good news for motorists and cyclists, as potholes are a huge danger to them. Now, many highways already have cameras observing them from above, but drivers and self-driving vehicles need to get access to that data. In the not-so-distant future, sensors will be pretty much everywhere, in vehicles, buildings, traffic lights, and even the roads themselves. It's important because even some of the smartest cars may have a limited range of what they see. If they make decisions based on that data, it's no good. So a smart highway with sensors will come to the rescue. Imagine getting real-time information about all the potential obstacles and hazards on the road via fast cellular-based 5G networks. This tech should help minimize the number of road accidents. If an accident does happen on one of the smart highways, artificial intelligence will analyze the data on speed, lane positioning, and nearby vehicles to work out some patterns and algorithms to avoid similar accidents in the future. Since more and more people will use shared autonomous vehicles, the demand for parking spots should go down. And there will be parking lots for autonomous vehicles with electric charging stations and cleaning services. Such parking lots will fit more cars since they won't need elevators or staircases. The owners will just drop the cars off at the entrance. It also means the cars can be parked super tightly. People won't have to open the doors and climb out of the vehicle. Researchers believe that autonomous parking lots.
Geese. Several years ago, there was reportedly this break-in at a police station, but guard geese saved the day. They spotted the intruder and alerted the police officers before he could steal a confiscated motorbike. Experts think geese make great protectors because they have super sharp senses and are always on high alert. See, geese have hearing and vision, so they can spot trouble from far away. They're also very territorial, which makes them perfect for guarding places like police stations or chicken coops. Unlike dogs who can be bribed with treats, geese stay focused once they start honking. They can be a handful to calm down, but they're pretty low maintenance otherwise. Just feed them cracked corn and grass, and they're good to go. So they can be bribed with treats. Residents in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe's second-largest city, were being asked by city officials to flush their toilets at the same time to help with sewer blockages caused by water rationing. The city council wanted residents to flush at 7:30 p.m. when the water was back on. That synchronized flushing was needed to clear up built-up waste. The first synchronized flushing was successful, but some residents doubted its effectiveness. Despite this, the city planned to continue with the initiative twice a week. City officials hoped this coordinated effort would address sewer issues and minimize damage to the city's infrastructure, even though some residents were skeptical. I bet this tore the fabric of space and time, though, somewhere in the universe. Those who have no one to leave their cat with while on vacay, the solution for you was invented back in the 1970s. Meet Gary Dahl, a guy who created a perfect pet that doesn't need food and an expensive vet checkup. His innovative idea got the name the Pet Rock. Yep, he suggested keeping pebbles as pets. And guess what? This crazy idea made him a millionaire overnight. It all started as a joke among friends, but Dahl turned it into a viral sensation by packaging it with care and creating a playful backstory. The Pet Rock became a popular holiday gift in 1975, selling about 1.5 million items at about $4 each. Keep in mind that $4 were valued more almost 50 years ago. The craze faded over time, but the Pet Rock's impact on pop culture and the toy industry remains. However, the trend seems to have returned, as there's a new trend in South Korea. Young people there domesticate stones, paint faces on them, and even give them names. I guess there'll always be people who have more money than they do brains. In a small village tucked away in the Italian Alps, winter has gotten a whole lot brighter thanks to a giant mirror perched on a nearby mountain. This mirror, standing tall at 16 feet high and 26 feet wide, has been strategically positioned to bounce the sun's rays right into the village's main square. Before this nifty idea, Viganella, home to just under 200 people, was plunged into darkness from the 11th of November to the 2nd of February every year, all thanks to the valley's steep sides. So the mayor decided to shake things up and forked out around 100,000 euros for this genius mirror. Needless to say, the whole village is over the moon about it. No more being cooped up indoors during the winter chill now. The residents can soak up the sun's warmth in the historic piazza, especially the older folks who are really feeling the gloom. Real vanilla flavoring in cookies or ice cream can be replaced with a secretion extracted from beaver behinds. Every now and then you might see posts on social media warning folks about a substance called castoreum that could be lurking under the natural flavoring label in some sweets. It's true. Beavers do produce a sweet-smelling edible substance called castoreum from their glands near their bums. But don't worry too much about finding it at your local store. Experts say it's pretty rare and expensive. Castoreum is a yellowish-brown goo in beavers' scent glands near their tails. They use it to mark their territory, leaving a scent that humans can easily smell. Even though castoreum has been used for centuries in medicine and perfumes, it's not as common in foods these days. Cheaper synthetic alternatives like vanillin are now preferred. While the FDA says this substance is safe to eat, the chances of accidentally munching on the beaver butt goo are pretty slim, because there's not really a big supply of it for food use. Imagine being the first guy that looked at a beaver bum and thought, I bet we could get something sweet from there. Isn't it wonderful to have a refreshing walk after a rainfall? Streets appear shiny, the air feels nicer, and people are typically happier to have the sun shining again. The only downside is dealing with damp benches and chairs. Luckily, Innovative designers, particularly from Korea, have devised a clever solution. These benches have slats that can be rotated to the dry side by turning a handle. No more wet pants situations and awkward moments during dates. In LA, some reservoirs have.
So, to play it safe, take good care of your wire grill brush and inspect it before putting food on it. If you see any loose or dangling wire bristles, get rid of them. If this sounds like too much work, just toss that brush altogether. There are some safe alternatives to it, like wooden panels, pumice stone, nylon bristle brush, or liquid grill cleaner. You can also roll a piece of aluminum foil into a ball and use grill tongs to hold it while you're scrubbing your dirty grill grates. Cooking pros say an onion cut in half can also do the job. The caterpillar that arrived at your barbecue party as an uninvited guest might seem cute and harmless, but not all of them are safe to pick up and play with. There are several types of venomous caterpillars in the US alone that can give you a hard time. Any brightly colored caterpillar that has a spine, bristles, or looks fuzzy could be venomous, and you're better off not touching it. Many caterpillars are equipped with hairs or spines, which are connected to poisonous glands. They often hide on the underside of the leaf, so you could easily miss it. So, when you're doing some work in the garden, it's a good idea to wear gloves and clothes with long sleeves. Your skin will thank you for it. If you get stung by accident, use any sticky tape to remove the hair or spines, and then just wash the affected spot with soap and water. If you plan to go swimming or boating to cool down after the party, remember that algal blooms aren't just a freaky splash of color in the water, but a real problem. They're toxic and can cause a lot of trouble for you and your pets. The symptoms will be less than pleasant, and will involve you spending a great deal of time in the bathroom. Algae bloom means there are plenty of bacteria in the water, so don't swim in it and don't drink the water, no matter how thirsty you are after all the swimming. And if you happen to get some ingested water on your skin, take a long shower with clean water immediately. The media should report cases of dangerous algae blooms in your area, so make sure to check it before you hit the nearest lake. Wild parsnip might not appear in your summer nightmares, but this yellow-flowered plant can do some really mean things to your body. It contains a substance called solerin, and when you accidentally touch it and then enjoy a walk in the sun, the effect it will leave on your skin will be as nasty as the name Sorolin. And you could have dark red or brownish discoloration on your skin for months after your unwanted rendezvous with the plant. It's mostly active and mischievous between May and July, so watch out. Alright, a garden hose must be completely safe as, unlike the grill brush, it doesn't have any small metallic parts, right? Well, when you leave it hanging out in direct sunlight, the water inside can heat up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. If you spray someone with water this hot, their skin won't love it. It's especially dangerous for youngsters and pets. So, if you see someone blissfully unaware, grab the hose, take it from them by force if needed, and let the water run for a few moments before you let anyone play with the hose. It's for their own good. The intense sun can also heat up all the bad chemicals the hose itself contains, like lead and phthalates. So, check what yours is made of and replace it with a safer version that's labeled lead-free or drinking water safe if you plan to use the water for drinking or playing. And if you already have a safe version, but suddenly smell a terrible odor, it could be the algae and bacteria that just love stagnant water. If it comes into contact with your skin, or you swallow it by accident, you could have some serious health problems. The best you can do is replace the hose. And yes, make sure you keep it in a cool, shaded area and drain it well after every use. Now, you're never too old to love the trampolines, but the trampoline might not love you back and give you a spinal injury or broken bones. Almost 100,000 injuries like this with young users happen every year because they're so easy to fall from or land in the worst possible way during a somersault or a flip. The biggest risk of trampoline trouble is when more than one person is using this fun contraption. Nearly 75% of all accidents with trampolines happen when two jumping youngsters crash into one another. And no, some netting or padding really can't save the day. If you want to keep things safe, make sure there's always only one person at a time on the trampoline. You're going to need to install shock-absorbing pads that completely cover the trampoline's metal frame, springs, and hooks. If you see any signs of the padding getting too old, like tears and fraying, you need to replace it immediately. Make sure the trampoline stands on level ground and isn't too close to other structures and trees. A slide in your backyard, no matter if it's made of metal or plastic, can turn into a frying pan under the sun and can heat up to 189 degrees Fahrenheit. So, before you jump on it or let someone else do it, check the temperature of the whole thing top to bottom. And even when your little sister or someone else you love is begging you to go on a ride with them, don't do it. The slide is designed for one person of a certain size. When the two of you end up tandem sliding, the smaller leg can get caught up between the bigger leg and the edge of the slide. The speed will also increase, and it can lead to all sorts of drama. Finally, no matter how tempting it feels in the hot months, don't walk barefoot on that beautiful lawn in the park or even in your own garden. You never know what's hiding in the grass, and if you step on something sharp, like a rusty nail hiding in the grass, you'll get yourself into a lot of trouble. Flip-flops aren't the best idea for everyday summer shoes either. They rarely come with arch support and can make you take shorter steps and put more stress on your body. It's just not good for your feet, joints, and muscles. Otherwise, have a great summer!
Can we power spaceships using black holes? Kinda. Exploring our galaxy is a bit problematic. Our fastest spacecraft ever, NASA's Parker Solar Probe, only travels at about 0.06% the speed of light. So it would take around 7,700 years for us to reach even our closest neighbor star, Proxima Centauri. Therefore, we need to find a way to achieve super high velocity without wasting too much fuel. Why don't we consider powering spacecraft using radiation from black holes? Natural black holes are too massive for us to harness. However, during the early stages of the universe, there might have been very small black holes known as primordial ones. Perhaps we could attempt to recreate them. In order to do so, we would need to concentrate a massive amount of energy on a minuscule point. Imagine a mass of about 1,000,000 tons with a radius of a few attometers. Scientists have devised a method to accomplish this. By collecting a vast amount of the sun's energy using solar panels, directing it towards a single point, surrounding it with collectors to capture the emitted energy, and utilizing its radiation to power a spaceship. What a brilliant plan! As for the implementation, we'll have to wait and see how it unfolds. Scientists in Japan have developed artificial wombs that can nurture premature baby sharks. They help embryos to be prepared to be born properly. These artificial wombs can power little sharks for almost a year. This is much longer than their previous record of 160 days. The invention actually works. Some embryos grew from 1.2 to almost 6 inches, which is their natural birth size. Premature sharks are very vulnerable because the seawater is too salty for their little bodies. This is especially dangerous for viviparous sharks because their young ones are born without a protective shell. So what scientists did is they put them in these containers and started slowly decreasing natural fluids and gradually increasing the seawater until babies got used to the salt. The results are still not perfect though. Out of 33 embryos, only 3 reached birth size. However, these 3 are healthy and now live like any normal baby shark. They munched on some minced mackerel and shrimp and behaved typically for their age. The end goal of all this research, of course, is to develop more universal systems for wider use. Sensing a hug over the internet might soon be possible. Using e-skin. Researchers at City University of Hong Kong have developed a wireless, soft e-skin that can detect and deliver the sense of touch. This creates a touch network for multi-user interaction. The e-skin can both sense touch and imitate it. We had similar technologies like that before, with VR for example. but not both of them at the same time. Here's how it works. You press an actuator, and it generates an electrical signal. This signal is converted into a digital signal by an analog to digital converter. Then it's sent via Bluetooth to another e-skin. The receiving e-skin converts the signal back into an electrical current, and it recreates the touch sensation through vibrations. Finally, long-distance friends and family could use technology to feel each other. This technology might also help visually impaired people with directions and reading Braille messages. Now, imagine being able to 3D print literal bones. This is a new technology that helps us create synthetic bones with living cells. It uses a special ink that mimics natural bone. First, you create a model, like a custom bone design. Then the printer uses ceramic ink in a gelatin bath, extruding it layer by layer. You 3D print this thing at room temperature. Then, the printed bone material hardens and integrates with existing bone tissue, and voila! Still, there are some problems left to solve. For example, make sure that there won't be any immune reactions, make the material stronger, and so on. By the way, in Mumbai, there's a startup that has created helpful 3D models of organs for over 1,200 operations already. And the technology will only keep improving. The next goals are to add blood vessels to ensure nutrients and oxygen reach the tissue and develop smart materials that will change depending on the environment. In the future, you might have a digital copy of your body to track your health. A digital twin is a virtual model of a physical object that not only looks like the object, but also behaves like it. To be fair, it doesn't have to be a full-blown copy of you. It can be something simple, like a copy of a heart. Unlike a simple 3D model, a digital twin must show how all parts of the object interact with each other. It will show all components and their interactions, not just the shape or appearance. Looking at them will help doctors understand and improve health outcomes better by tweaking random parameters and seeing how the condition changes. For example, recently, researchers created digital twins of patients' hearts. The model showed the heart's structure and damage, things like scars and all that. They also had a simulation of the heart's electrical activity. They tried sending signals through the digital twin, looked at how it behaved, and were able to predict issues like arrhythmias. What if your walls could eat sunlight during the day and use the accumulated energy to power the building at night? Buildings literally powering themselves? Check out the energy-storing bricks. They can be built in walls among regular bricks, capture extra renewable energy, stabilize the power grid, and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. They use a type of concrete that can store electricity and power devices. These bricks can turn the red pigment in standard bricks into conductive plastic, which can store and release tons of charge. Pair them with solar panels, and voila! Lots of clean energy, which also works even in case of power outage. And they're pretty affordable as well. People could also use them to create portable and flexible devices powered by these bricks, such as wearable electronics, sensors, or displays that attach to clothes and stuff. Potentially, these bricks could be 3D printed and mass-produced. China has developed a groundbreaking car battery that can get fully charged in just 10 minutes. Moreover, it could power a car for hundreds of miles before needing to be plugged in again, all thanks to recent great advancements in chemistry. Chemists found a way to store much more energy. The latest batteries can enable cars to travel 250 miles on a single charge, and newer versions can achieve up to 600 miles per charge. In the future, this could make electric cars much more efficient and convenient. You'd think it sounds nice and dandy, but there's a catch. If there are any disruptions due to extreme weather, trade disputes, or anything else, people will be screwed. It's not like you can go and ask your neighbor to lend you gasoline. Electric cars might not be able to get the batteries they need. Anyone who drives an electric car to work would be stuck, and the prices would skyrocket. There's also a weird type of battery that is made of sand. Finnish engineers filled a large steel container measuring 13 by 23 feet with 100 tons of sand. They then heated the sand using wind and solar energy. This method allows energy to be stored for months. In a battery like this, electricity used to heat air in a special system of pipes. The hot air then flows through these pipes to warm up the sand. This generated heat can be used as energy. This is called resistive heating. Sometimes new technologies can be both amazing and a little creepy. That's definitely the case with necrobiotics. This involves turning things that passed away into robots. It might sound like a horror movie plot, but researchers at Rice University think it will be super useful. A team at Rice University has turned a deceased spider into a robot-like gripper that can pick up objects. They do this by injecting air into the spider. Spiders use hydraulics to move their limbs, forcing their version of blood into their legs to make them extend. These necrobiotic grippers could be used in delicate tasks where traditional robotic parts might be too bulky or rough.
Picture this. You're planning your dream holiday, but instead of going to a tropical beach or a bustling city, you're thinking about going to space. Imagine yourself floating, weightless, looking down at Earth from a whole new perspective. The beauty and wonder of our planet become even more evident when you're viewing it from a distance. And now, this dream can come true. Yes, you heard that right. Space tourism. Space tourism is something that has fascinated people for generations. This idea has been around for almost 20 years. We've seen it in movies and read about it in stories. But now, thanks to advancements in technology, it's finally becoming a reality. The first space tourist was a businessman named Dennis Tito. He visited the International Space Station in 2001. Sounds incredible, but here's the catch. Tito's trip cost a mind-boggling $20 million. That's a lot of money, and it made space travel seem like a dream that only the super rich could afford. And it's true that space tourism can be quite expensive. But a lot of time has passed since that day. And now, space tourism is becoming more attainable for people who aren't billionaires. Of course, the industry is still in its early stages, but the demand for it is skyrocketing, pun intended. Experts believe that it will continue to grow at an incredible rate of around 40% every year from 2023 to 2030. So, with all this in mind, let's talk about what awaits us in the near future. There are different types of space tourism. First up, we have suborbital spaceflight. It's the trip where you reach an altitude of over 300,000 feet, which is way higher than any airplane can go. In fact, it's so high that you cross a special line called the Kármán line, which marks the boundary of outer space. How cool is that? So it's basically like a quick jump into space and back. So let's talk a bit more about suborbital spaceflight. Imagine you want to go on vacation to Sydney, but you live in London. Normally, it would take you about 22 hours to get there by plane. That's a really long time to sit on a plane. But guess what? Scientists and engineers are working on a new way of traveling that could make the journey from England to Australia super fast and exciting. Suborbital space trips could be used for quick travel between different cities on Earth. Instead of flying in a regular airplane, you would hop on a spacecraft that can go really, really fast. According to a recent study, in the near future, it might be possible to fly from London to Sydney in less than 2 hours. Just imagine how amazing that would be. You would zoom up into space, see the Earth from above, then come back down in no time at all. What an adventure! This study, conducted by the UK's Civil Aviation Authority, was all about understanding how our bodies react to trips outside Earth's atmosphere. To figure this out, the researchers needed some brave volunteers. They recruited 24 healthy people between the ages of 32 and 80. These volunteers were taken to a special training facility called an RAF centrifuge in Cranwell. A centrifuge is a big machine that looks like a giant spinning chair. The volunteers were sat in there to experience a simulation of spaceflight. They were spun around, and their bodies felt the pressure and changes in gravity that happen when you go into space. Almost everyone handled the simulation pretty well and quickly returned to normal. One person even briefly lost consciousness, but it was because of the gravitational forces, and they recovered soon after. Now, this study found some surprising things. Many people think that you have to be really fit and young to handle space flights. But the research showed that older people can actually cope better with all this gravity craziness. So even if we don't develop space tourism in the next decade or two, you'll still have a chance to visit space, even when you get old. Right now, there are two big players in the suborbital spaceflight game: Virgin Galactic and Blue Origin. Both of these companies have rocket-powered systems that can take up to 6 passengers on a thrilling ride. Virgin Galactic has already had 4 successful flights, but they recently ran into some financial trouble. On the other hand, Blue Origin has flown 32 passengers on their new Shepard rocket. The catch is pretty obvious. Right now, space tourism is super expensive. Companies can charge a whopping £350,000 per seat for these flights. But don't worry, things are about to change soon. Experts believe that space tourism will grow in the coming decades. It will be kinda similar to what happened to airplanes. Right now, the cost of a quick trip to space is very high. But as time goes on, the prices will go down. Eventually, space tourism will become more affordable and accessible to people all around the world. That means not just our children, but many of us will have a chance to experience the wonders of space. As technology advances, we might even be able to plan rocket-powered holidays in the future. Can you imagine telling your friends that you went on a vacation to space? What a flex! And now, let's talk about orbital spaceflight. This is the real deal, where you get to spend more time in space. Instead of just a few minutes, you can spend anywhere from a few days to over a week up there. And we're not talking about a measly 300,000 feet anymore. We're talking about going over 1.3 million feet high. So whether you're up for a quick jump into space or a longer adventure orbiting our planet, space tourism has something for everyone. Sky is no longer the limit. But space tourism isn't all fun and games. There are some challenges we need to consider too. First off, let's talk about the environment. Launching spacecraft and rockets takes a lot of energy and can create air and noise pollution. This can seriously harm our atmosphere. We don't want to trade a cool space trip for a damaged planet, right? Next, there's the issue of safety. Space travel is still risky, and accidents can happen. Even with safety protocols in place, there's always a chance of something going wrong. And if it does, the consequences could be really, really bad. Yikes! Space debris is another concern. Every time a spacecraft is launched, it leaves behind debris that can stay in orbit for a long time. As more launches happen, the amount of debris keeps growing. This can cause problems for other spacecraft, and even small pieces of debris can cause damage. Space travel also requires a lot of resources like energy, fuel, and materials. Using up these resources too quickly could have long-term consequences for our planet and future generations. We need to make sure we're not depleting everything in our quest for space exploration. Oh, and let's not forget about all the legal stuff. The rules and regulations for space tourism are still evolving, and it's not always clear who should be responsible if something goes wrong. Plus, there are concerns about how space tourism might affect international space laws and treaties. We don't want legal chaos in the final frontier. And finally, to achieve our dream of taking spaceships like planes, we'll need better infrastructure and logistics. We'll need to build more spaceports where spaceships can take off and land.
The best part is, they can even prepare the ingredients for you. Now, as the clock strikes noon, you'll receive a text message from your mom. She reminds you about her visit, which will be in an hour. Uh-oh, you totally forgot about that. Well, you take a look around your house and realize that you haven't been doing any cleaning for quite some time. But she can't see it like this. This is where super suits might come in handy. The Guardian Exo is a rechargeable, battery-powered, and mechanical full-body exoskeleton that's designed to make you faster and stronger. Using its electrical motors and a state-of-the-art set of 100 ultra-precise body sensors, it combines human intelligence, instinct, and judgment with the endurance and precision of machines. It can increase your strength and allow you to lift up to 200 pounds of weight like you're lifting a feather, and it won't restrict your movement at all. So you can clean under your sofa, bed, or that smart refrigerator pretty easily and quickly before your mom arrives. Talk about productivity. But don't get your hopes up too much. It doesn't have the technology to allow you to stop buses like Superman or jump over buildings like Neo. So it's not really suited to saving the world. But it sure can be a lifesaver if you're moving into a new house. What's great about it is that you can actually get your hands on it now. That is, if you have $100,000 per year to pay its rent. Wow, you finished cleaning so fast that you still got some time left before mommy comes home. Might as well go for a quick run. But thanks to your suit, you didn't burn that many calories while cleaning. So grab your futuristic sci-fi sneakers and let's head out. This creature-like footwear called the Cryptide Sneaker is a fully 3D printed shoe. It's made out of only one material, which is a special polymer called thermoplastic elastomer. This material varies in thickness or thinness in different places, meaning while specific parts of the sneaker become stiffer, the others will remain soft and flexible. So it is ergonomic and comfortable, in addition to being easy and fast to manufacture. The whole shoe can be printed out in one go, and it doesn't require any gluing or stitching. And the best part is, its shape can be adapted to your own foot. The only thing needed for that is your foot's 3D scan. Well, you head back home just in time to greet your mom. She wants the two of you to spend a nice, quiet afternoon together, reading or watching something. You think that's a great idea, and you show your new favorite book to her. She goes through the pages, but you notice she's having a hard time reading the words, squinting her eyes. If only I could zoom into the book pages like I can do with your Instagram photos, she says. Hey, you have just the thing she needs. In 2019, a team of researchers created a pair of contact lenses that zoom in when you blink twice. Each eye movement you make gives distinct electrical signals. The zoom-in contact lenses contain electrodes that can track these signals and respond accordingly. The polymers that they're made of expand when a certain electrical current is applied. So, when you blink twice, the lenses increase their magnification and make everything appear 32% larger for you. However, it looks like you'll have to wait a bit longer to start wearing them. The researchers are still trying to figure out how to make them out of the material regular contacts are made of, so they'll be safer for everyday use. Now, aside from the zoom-in only lenses though, other researchers have been working on creating what they call smart lenses as well. These will have nearly invisible micro-LED displays smaller than a grain of sand, tiny navigation sensors, image sensors, and almost microscopic batteries. They'll help guide you through new cities, give you information about the buildings and the people. Wow, traveling made easy. Aren't you glad you have that trust fund to pay for all this? Wait, no trust fund? Well, you can still have Instagram. So your phone needs an entire night to charge. Bummer, right? A cool Indian origin researcher has you covered. He's discovered a super speedy way to charge your laptops and phones in just 1 minute. Imagine a battery getting fully juiced while you're brushing your teeth. Not only that, but you can also juice up your electric car in just 10 minutes. Ankar Gupta, the brain behind this discovery, along with his team of researchers at the University of Colorado, Boulder, found a way to make charged particles move really fast through tiny pores. This breakthrough can lead to the creation of super-efficient energy storage devices called supercapacitors. Not only do they charge up super quickly, but they also last longer than regular batteries. According to specialists, the magic lies in the efficient movement of ions. Samsung is gearing up to introduce a game-changer. Meet Bali, a cool spherical home robot designed to win over even the toughest skeptics who could use a helping hand around the house. In the past, Samsung teased us with a peek at what was to come, dropping hints about Bali way back in 2020. But the wait is finally over, as they can take the plunge into creating a robot that's an all-around home assistant. Samsung promises that you can get your very own Bali Buddy in 2024. There are no firm details on pricing yet, but they're cutting us some slack by making all of Bali's features subscription-free. However, Samsung isn't alone in the quest for a spot in your living room. LG is hot on their heels, boasting about their own companion robot set to make its grand entrance in 2025. The Squad Solar City car might be the coolest ride in town. This innovative vehicle is the world's first solar-powered car designed for urban and suburban mobility. It's the perfect solution for tackling emissions and congestion in the city, whether you're sharing it with friends or cruising around solo. Imagine the ease of a moped combined with all the comforts and security of a car. That's what Squad offers. Also, say goodbye to parking headaches, traffic jams, and congestion charges. This ride is a significant change. Squad charges itself using solar energy, making it environmentally friendly and cost-effective. With its sleek design and compact size, parking is a breeze. You can fit 3 Squads in the space of one regular car. Plus, with swappable batteries and loads of storage space, this car is as practical as it is fun. I bet there's one thing your body does that you definitely take for granted, and it's going number 1. I'm talking about that mechanism we've got that helps us know exactly when it's time to go number 1. However, for some folks with spinal cord injuries or conditions like multiple sclerosis, that connection between the brain and the bladder can get a bit wonky, causing all sorts of issues. ManyThings, a cool company from South Korea, has produced a solution that's sure to save the day. They've created a nifty wearable patch that uses near-infrared technology to peer into your bladder and give you a heads up when it's time to hit the restroom. The person wearing it will just get a friendly reminder via a phone alert. Simply slap on the patch, stick it on your lower abdomen, and let the magic happen. The technology isn't out yet, but they're doing their best to make it hit the market as soon as possible. Now get ready to revolutionize your work-from-home routine with Lifespan's Ampera, the ultimate multitasking marvel for all you Silicon Valley trendsetters out there. Say goodbye to boring desktops and hello to a pedal-powered paradise that not only keeps you active, but also charges up your devices like a boss. Just 30 minutes of pedaling and bam! Your phone is halfway juiced up. And if you feel like really going for it, you can even charge up your laptop by cycling like a pro. This device may look like a funky bar stool with pedals, but it's a game changer for your home office setup. According to Lifespan CEO Jackie Wu, the Ampera is the go-to for people working from home who are tired of being glued to their desk all day. So, how do you feel when you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror first thing in the morning? Personally, I usually feel a little grumpy and definitely in need of some caffeine. But now, thanks to the Be-Mind smart mirror from Paris-based tech company Barracuda, clever name, huh? That morning mirror check can actually be helpful. This magic mirror can analyze your expressions and gestures to figure out how you're feeling, and then offer up some personalized mental health coaching to get you on the right track for the day. With the help of AI and natural language processing, the mirror can provide guided meditations, light therapy, and affirmations to boost your mood. According to Barracuda specialists, this new technology has the potential to improve the quality of millions of lives by monitoring subtle changes in health. And that's not all the mirror can do. It can even help guide you through your morning toothbrushing routine and analyze your skin's needs. But the real question is, can it whip up a cup of coffee? Unfortunately, not yet. But maybe that'll be the next upgrade. Meet Custo, the ultimate smart home parcel box that brings convenience right to your doorstep. Imagine having your very own personal custodian, keeping track of all your incoming and outgoing parcels and alerting you when needed. No need to worry about manual input. Custo opens with just a scan of the parcel's tracking number, thanks to real-time checks with over 1,500 courier APIs. You can easily grant access to family and friends through the mobile app, using unique QR codes for one-time or recurring visits. Plus, rest assured that your smartphone will promptly notify you about every delivery. Taking a leisurely stroll is a fantastic way to get your exercise in. But let's face it, sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds. Whether you're getting up there in age, battling some condition, or just feeling a little weak in the muscles, walking can be a real challenge. Enter WIM, the brainchild of South Korean robotics wizards at We Robotics. This nifty little gadget straps around your waist and legs, giving you a 20% boost in energy while you walk. This means you can go further and feel less like collapsing at the end of your jaunt. The AI technology inside analyzes how you walk and even predicts your next move, getting smarter with each step you take. Plus, WIM isn't just for those hardcore athletes or folks with medical needs. It's for anyone who just wants to jazz up their daily stroll. The whole shebang weighs just 3 pounds and folds up into a compact little package that you can toss in your bag. And if you're feeling extra adventurous, WIM has an exercise mode that mimics walking through water, giving your muscles a real workout. Well, it's been a long time since we last saw those old physical keyboards on cell phones because touchscreens took over the industry. But wait! Click's technology has come up with a brilliant solution for those nostalgic BlackBerry fans. This cool iPhone case brings back that classic keyboard feel, thanks to a team of former BlackBerry, Apple, and Google employees. Sure, it may be a little.
There's a pretty cool innovation coming in the world of headphones in 2022. Ta-da! The invisible headphone. Yep, you heard it right. The invisible headphone. Yep, you heard it right. This gadget transmits ultrasound silently through the air. You'll feel like you're wearing a pair of real sounds, and an operator would hold it on their shoulder. Inventors never really intended for headphones to be portable, or at least not from the start. In the 1970s, people mostly used headphones to listen to records at home. The big change in headphone history happened only when Sony released the Walkman. People wanted portable headphones to listen to their favorite song even outside of their homes. If you noticed one earbud gets discharged faster than the other, know that you're not the only one dealing with this. It happens because the signal won't be equally strong in both of your earbuds. For instance, if the difference goes up to 15 to 20% after you used both of them for the same amount of time, yeah, something can be wrong. But if the difference is 5%, that's normal because the system rounds out battery data from each of your earbuds. So it depends on where exactly you hold your phone. It could be closer to the left or the right earbud, or how conductive one side of your head is. In a way, it blocks less signal. And generally, your earbuds have individual connections, so each will use energy on a slightly different level. If you use airplane mode while playing mobile games, you won't get ads popping up all the time in the middle of the game. Smart idea! When you turn off the sound on your smartphone, your battery will last longer. The vibration will also waste energy. You'll be able to charge your phone quicker if you use an outlet rather than a USB cable. Sure, it's great if you're in a car or somewhere outside with your laptop available, but you'll definitely have to wait longer. Enter #31# and your phone number if you want to hide it. That way, when you're calling a friend, they won't be able to see who's calling. This way, you'll be able to hide your number only during the current call. When you want to hand your phone to a friend, but at the same time keep all of your messages and the rest of your personal data confidential, go with guest mode. Use 2 fingers to swipe down from the top and go to the user icon on the upper right. You'll see the Add Guest icon. Now you can choose which actions you'll allow performing to your friend or anyone who has your smartphone. Smartphones are so versatile, they'll slowly replace many things at your home. You can even use your phone instead of a TV remote. There are apps that allow you to connect the TV through Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Do you ever have to read articles on Wikipedia on a really complicated topic, like how your phone or some other gadgets function? You can translate them into regular human language by choosing the Simple English version. This will get you to an article that's much easier to read and understand. Your smartphone can see infrared light, so if you're about to shoot an infrared beam directly into your phone's camera, there will be a purple beam on your display. This happens because most sensors on digital cameras can sense light frequencies our eyes aren't able to pick up. Wireless chargers are convenient to carry around. Plus, admit it, they look cool. But if your battery is low and you need your phone charged as soon as possible, they aren't as effective and fast as conventional ones. If you have some spare batteries at home, you can use the negative side of the battery as a stylus for your smartphone, be it iPhone or Android. Yep, try scrolling through the apps, navigating through the homepage, drawing in notes. A battery stylus can do pretty much anything that its regular version is capable of. You can also take a pencil and grab some foil lying around. Tear up a small piece of foil to wrap it around the eraser at the top of your pencil. And here it is, you have a new stylus once again. It can be useful when it's really cold outside and you're wearing gloves and can't control your phone without a stylus. The iPad came to the market years after the iPhone had already set the world on fire. But the tablet was the original project the company was working on before the idea of applying such a system to a phone. When you want to edit your home screen, you'll probably grab an app icon and move it wherever you want, right? Then you'll grab another app and move it over, and another one, and so on. It's way more effective to just grab an app and then tap on the rest of the apps you want to move. Then you move it, place it where you want it to be, and everything's done. Even Face ID can't guarantee no one will unlock your phone without your permission. There may be a situation when someone takes away your phone and tries to unlock your Face ID by using your face. If that happens, just say, "Hey Siri, whose phone is this?" Your phone is going to immediately freeze up, so a person holding it will have to use the password to unlock it. If you'd like your iPhone to be a bit louder, go to Settings, then Music. Under EQ, you'll see the option called Late Night. This will make loud sounds quiet, and at the same time, amplify quiet sounds so your phone will have much better sound. If you have AirPods and you lost one, you can track it down with Apple's Find My app. First, you need to make sure your AirPods are linked to your Apple ID. You need to set up the Find My app on your iPhone, and then you'll be able to check the last location of your beloved AirPods on a map. If you lose just one, you can prompt it to play a sound. That way, you can easily find it, at least as long as it's connected to your Bluetooth and is close to some other Apple devices of yours. Simply launch the Find My app, go to the Devices tab, and press the Play Sound option. To save battery life, keep just one bud in and swap them from time to time. If you're using AirPods a lot and your battery often runs low, you'll be able to charge one of them while you're using another. You can use your iPhone to check the status of the...
Now, how about key safe locks? You know, the ones that people use for rental apartments? These devices are typically mounted to a wall or other secure surface and can be accessed only by entering a correct code. They provide a secure place to store your keys, eliminating the risky game of hide-and-seek with your spare keys under flower pots. Sounds like a solid plan, right? Well, before you heave a sigh of relief, it's important to remember our mantra: no lock is impenetrable. Here's the word I'm trying to say. Anyways, key lock safes are not only susceptible to brute force attacks, but also susceptible to the same risk as combination locks. Furthermore, the very visibility of a key safe can sometimes be a giveaway to burglars that you're security conscious, potentially making your home a more tempting target. It's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? But the worst part is even a piece of paper might be enough to open them. Key lock safes typically consist of several rotating wheels inside the lock. Each wheel has a small notch known as a gate. When you dial in the combination, you're actually rotating these wheels. The correct combination aligns all the gates in a straight line. Once aligned, a bar or lever inside the lock, called the fence, drops into these aligned gates and the lock can be opened. The intruders might be able to figure out the configuration on key lock safes using a thin piece of paper. And the rest of the process involves some mathematical skills as well as lots of luck. But since this whole thing will take quite some time, it's likely someone will be able to spot them before they succeed. So, is there a lock that you can fully trust to keep the bad guys at bay? Enter the era of digital door locks. This seemingly futuristic solution comes equipped with features like fingerprint recognition, keypads with unique PIN codes, and even remote access through your smartphone. But wait before you run down to the tech stores to get one. It's crucial to recognize that while digital locks can offer enhanced security features like tamper alerts and the ability to change codes on a whim, they're not without their own vulnerabilities. For instance, electronic locks can be susceptible to technical glitches, hacking, or battery failures. Another new tech lock type is biometric locks. They sound like they belong to spy movies, but they're actually quite handy. Instead of using keys or codes, these locks use parts of your body, like your fingerprint, your face, or even your eyes to unlock doors. This way, they provide protection against key thefts, code losses, ripping, melting, drilling, and hacking. In addition, some safes have an opening delay and automatic blocking in the event of an unsuccessful entry. This makes biometric locks the most secure on the market. However, they come with a hefty price tag, as they're among the most expensive types. But there's more to consider beyond the price tag before investing in one. For example, if the fingerprint or facial recognition features fail, these locks also come with backup options like a keypad or a regular key that will allow you to open them. In addition, they require maintenance every now and then. Remember, they run on batteries, so you'll have to replace them once in a while. You'll also need to clean the locks, especially the fingerprint part, to ensure they recognize you every time. And let's not forget the privacy issue, storing your personal biometrics.
Later, Gernsback presented the Tell-Eye glasses, a handy pocket-sized portable TV set. You might find them funny looking, but to be honest, today's VR goggles are only slightly less geeky. The Tell-Eye glasses weighed about 5 ounces and were built around small cathode ray tubes that ran on low-voltage current from tiny batteries. The device inventor was particularly focused on two measurements. The heights of the nose and forehead should be the same, and the eyes should be separated by the width of one eye. If the beauty micrometer spotted an imperfection, they suggested using makeup to correct the situation. So this device was supposed to be a big deal for actresses and actors working in the movie industry, but it was a flop, and it definitely didn't become a nationwide craze. Sheet masks are all about aesthetics nowadays, but they were way more bizarre looking in the past. Take this ice mask created in the 40s by the legendary Max Factor Jr., who basically invented makeup for movie stars. He hoped that actresses would go to great lengths to get a mask like this to reduce facial puffiness, but that really never happened. Some people find those dimples around a smile to be the most charming and attractive thing ever. So, an inventor came up with the Dimple Maker back in 1936, which basically looks like some medieval dental equipment. The instructions were pretty simple. The user should stand in front of a mirror, smile to position the dimple maker correctly, and wear it 2 or 3 times a day for 5 minutes each time. The idea was to repeat the process until dimples appeared. But no surprises here, the thing couldn't really make dimples look better or create new ones. In fact, the Medical Association even stated that this device could bring you serious health issues instead of conventional beauty. Even the most experienced men can injure themselves by shaving from time to time. So, probably only the bravest would pay to use this mass shaving machine, which allowed barbers to shave a dozen men simultaneously. This device appeared in a pilot for a TV series in the 60s, but it was invented in the 19th century. Still, the commercial success was never meant to happen, as this machine would simply never adapt to different face shapes. Another dangerous invention was the shoe-fitting fluoroscope. When shopping for shoes, instead of the usual try-on routine, people would step onto this cool machine that uses X-rays to show a real-time moving image of your feet inside the shoes. It's like a high-tech way to make sure your kicks fit just right. It sounds pretty cool, but these machines were actually dangerous, since they were blasting out a crazy amount of radiation. I mean, during a quick 20-second view, you'd get a dose way above safe levels. Even though the radiation was aimed at people's feet, a bunch of it would scatter around, exposing everyone nearby. So, salespeople who spent hours around these things were getting a whole year's worth of radiation in just 2 hours. There were reports of injuries, so this invention was finally banned in the 70s. If you've got 2 left feet, you can learn how to dance with YouTube videos, or call your partner to help you out by using these Siamese crowns. The images bounce from a mirror at the top of the hat down to another mirror right in front of the eyes through a hole in the brim. But while they seemed a great idea for parades and sporting events, they simply weren't practical in any other situation. Whether you're feeling lazy or tired, there's really no excuse to skip your piano practice, all thanks to this 1935 invention, the foldable piano. The instrument sits at the foot of the bed, and the keyboard can be pulled out like a drawer, bent over on hinges until it's at the right angle for the player's hands. Is it safe though? All it takes is the piano not being totally secure and bam! A disaster is about to happen. Let's say the well-being of kids wasn't exactly a top concern for the minds behind the Mercury Maze. This 1978 invention was a handheld game where kids were supposed to rotate it and tilt the puzzle to guide a silver blob of mercury along a path to the center of the maze. Yes, we're referring to the toxic and health hazardous mercury in a kid's toy. What could possibly go wrong?
So a whirlwind of events is happening in the smartphone world right now. Samsung is releasing new phones that are going to be packed with novel AI functions. The company promises that the phones will be able to translate languages during calls, search for things by circling them in a picture, and even help you edit photos with Photoshop-like capabilities. This means 2 main things to us as consumers. We might be preparing to say goodbye to smartphones whatsoever. On the bright side, and we are, we'll get to experience cool new features and improvements in our phones. In 1994, the Motorola 888 was a hit, but it only gave you 15 minutes of talk time a month. Wow. Then Motorola came out with the Razr V3, thin, sleek, and packed with features like texting and games. Ooh. In 2007, Apple changed the world with their first iPhone. It wasn't just an upgrade, it completely flipped the script on how we see phones. It introduced a touchscreen. Before iPhone, most phones had physical buttons or keyboards. It also gave us App Store, made it easy to access internet wherever you were, and of course, had a great built-in camera. Today, we have an iPhone 15 and live in a world where most everyone has a smartphone. Over 2 billion smartphones have been sold all over the world. Nearly 7 out of 10 people on the planet own a smartphone now. The new generation has been using smartphones since birth, so they won't be impressed much by new functions, and they won't strive to buy all new models. And sure, these new models are faster, snappier, and take amazing photos, but if we take a closer look, they're pretty similar in how they look and work. It feels like we hit the ceiling. This is why smartphones might go out of fashion in the future. Progress keeps moving forward. If companies want to make successful sales, they need something groundbreaking. Now, we don't just look for ways to make our screen sharper or our connection faster. We're looking for big, fundamental changes in how we use technology every day. So we have 2 options: keep improving current phones or introduce something entirely new to the market. There are a couple of crazy ideas. Some TV shows have shown futuristic transparent phones with holographic displays, but that's more of a sci-fi idea than a real trend. The highest priority is improving battery life. Here, graphene batteries show a lot of promise. They could make your phone last a whole week with just 1 charge. Graphene consists of a super thin layer of carbon atoms arranged in a unique pattern. BCIs are used for 2 main things: helping people with medical needs and making everyday life easier. In medical settings, BCIs can assist people who have trouble communicating or moving, for example, people with ALS. In daily life, BCIs can help us focus better while driving, improve learning, or control devices with our thoughts instead of our hands. But making BCIs work perfectly isn't easy. One big challenge is making sure the electrodes that pick up brain signals are safe and long-lasting. Some last for years, but others break down quickly. Another challenge is making BCIs wireless. Right now, they need cables to connect to computers, which can be bulky and risky for infection. Researchers are working on better materials to fix all these problems. And of course, there's a design issue. Wearing a cap with cable sticking out in public would be kind of ridiculous. So we also have to figure out how to make BCIs more discreet. Perhaps we could build them into glasses or earphones. Plus, both the BCI and the user need to learn from each other. The BCI learns to understand the brain signals, while the user learns how to control the BCI. It's a continuous learning process, so it'll need a lot of fine-tuning. Despite advancements, there's a debate about whether we've reached peak distraction. A lot of young people are showing less and less concentration levels due to all the modern tech. Some people argue that we should focus on less screen time and more human connection. Smart goggles or glasses could offer a middle ground. They allow for distraction while integrating technology into daily life. Time will show whether we need to prioritize human connection or technological convenience. I think I vote for human connection. How about you?
Decades ago, no one would ever imagine keeping a stick in their pocket that could hold hundreds of gigabytes. We've come a long way since then, and got used to USBs transferring our files from device to device with ease. In 2000, two major companies developed and sold the first USB flash drives 1.0, which snowballed into USB 2.0, 3.0, Type-C, and so on. Physically, they can endure rough treatment and won't get damaged easily, especially if you get proper protection. By design, USBs are almost perfect. So perfect that you always make the mistake of inserting it in the wrong way. Admit it, the two square holes are used to help the USB secure its position. Looking for something a little more contemporary, then get ready to play some solitaire. No worries, you don't have to type some command to play it. All you need to do is type solitaire in the search bar, and you're there. You can play the exciting game of solitaire in your web browser. And when you get bored, you can play the classic game Pac-Man. If you're from the generation of the classic bulky phones, then this next game will bring back all those memories of your childhood. Open Google and type Snake, and there you go. When the internet is down, you can play the dinosaur game in your browser window while you're impatiently waiting for the Wi-Fi to come back. This game is very simple. After pressing enter, you just have to hit the spacebar to jump over obstacles. And at a certain point, you'll have the option to duck down, which will make it even more challenging. Even without Wi-Fi, you can still have a good time. You can pause the game whenever you want by pressing the Alt key or F11. You can just click on your screen to continue the game at any time. Windows 11 has some cool hidden features that are very useful, like adjusting the volume for each individual app. You can go to Settings and click on System. Hit the Sound section. This will bring you to all the sound levels and the master switch. Copy-pasting is so essential to our everyday workflow that Windows 11 decided to take it to a whole other level with clipboard history. This option allows you to save your copied texts in one designated area, which you can access anytime. And the good news is that this option is also available on Windows 10. Just click on the Windows key plus V, and you're good to go. If you have too many windows opened on Windows 11, you can grab the window that you want to keep and shake it. It will minimize all the remaining windows in the background so that you can have a pleasant, productive workflow. Oh wait, it's happening now!
On October 30th, 1759, the inhabitants of the Middle East were jolted awake by an earthquake. Cracks appeared in the walls of their homes, roofs began to crumble. People ran out of their homes and gathered in open areas. But because of strong shocks, they kept losing their footing and falling. A month later, there was another earthquake, but it turned out to be even stronger. Trees broke, houses collapsed, deep cracks appeared in the ground. The disaster lasted for 2 minutes. Oases, roads, and cities were destroyed. Incredibly, Baalbek's ancient buildings withstood earthquakes. Some historians state that this majestic and mysterious place was built during the Roman Empire, but many researchers disagree. Whatever the truth is, the city is one of the main archaeological phenomena of humankind. The most amazing building of Baalbek is the Temple of Jupiter. The inhabitants of the Roman Empire believed that Jupiter held power over lightning and thunder. The building looked like a platform with 54 columns. A massive roof rested on these columns. Today, you can only see 6 70-foot-high columns. Each of them consists of 3 sections and resembles a pencil. The cores of these pencils were made of lead. This made the columns exceptionally strong. Each of these pieces of stone weighed an incredible 80 tons. That's the weight of 35 Ford Explorer SUVs. Look, this is the largest block in the Great Pyramid of Giza. But compared to the blocks from Baalbek, it doesn't even look that impressive. The foundation under the Temple of Jupiter was preserved. That's how specialists figured out it consisted of about 25 monolithic stones, weighing 450 tons each. It means that the blocks from Baalbek weigh almost 4 times more than the blocks from Egypt. There are 3 more enormous limestone blocks in the foundation. They weigh 800 tons each. This is more than twice the weight of a Boeing 747 plane. Ancient builders must have had a hard time carving such giants from a piece of stone. And after that, they also had to pull them to the construction site and lift them to a significant height. Repeating these logistics would probably turn out to be a nightmare for present-day builders. To do this amount of work, they would need modern equipment. But Baalbek's constructors didn't have trucks, cranes with circular saws, or electricity. How did the builders of the past manage to do this? Scientists have a theory that includes ropes, winches, and lever systems. Naturally, the engineers of the past made all the gadgets from wood. Around 3,000 feet away from the ruins of the temple complex, there's a quarry. Archaeologists suppose that's where the stones for the construction were cut. They found a block of limestone there. It seemed to be too large, even for this incredible place. The monolith got called the Stone of the South. It was 65 feet long and 13 feet wide. The ancient builders didn't have time to completely separate it from its mother rock. A group of scientists from Austria estimated that this piece of limestone weighed more than 1,000 tons. That's like 3 Boeing aircraft due to corrosion. And still, researchers don't know how the blacksmiths managed to make an iron pillar that's not afraid of rust. It seems like a tough feat, even for modern metallurgists. The Al-Nasla rock is divided into 2 parts by a perfectly straight slit. Each boulder stands on a small pedestal. Some people believe this is the evidence of ancient laser technology. But geologists think the split happened due to the ground shifting or natural vibrations that occurred under the rock. This process led to the appearance of the crack. It had been deepening for thousands of years, and gradually, the natural monument took the form you can see today.
I bet that's not what you imagine when you think of cashews. But a Redditor found them like this in a store in Brazil. It turns out they're not true nuts. Cashews emerge at the tip of a cashew apple. There's a special word for a fruit with a seed inside, a drupe. So, cashews are drupes, just like almonds and pistachios. Brazil is the homeland of cashews. The tree was brought to India by the Portuguese in the middle of the 16th century, and from there, it spread further to Asia and then to West Africa. Today, these regions are the largest producers of cashews. The biggest consumer is the USA. They get 90% of the world's harvest. Since we're talking about foods, I'll show you a couple more. This, for example, is how pineapples grow. Also, pineapples aren't one of those fruits that grow fast. They take from 16 up to 24 months to grow until they can be harvested. Also, one plant can only produce a maximum of 3 pineapples during its lifetime. Fun facts: every segment of a pineapple used to be a flower. Have you ever wondered why eggplants are called eggplants? Well, you've probably never seen an eggplant growing, so here's a picture. Now it makes sense. They literally look like growing eggs. Also, eggplants aren't vegetables. Botanically, they're berries, just like watermelons. Also, eggplants aren't only purple. They can also be white, green, and even purple with white stripes. You'll never guess what it is. It looks like a flower bouquet, but it's broccoli that hasn't been harvested. Those flowers are actually edible. Broccoli has been known for at least 2,000 years. It was the favorite food of the ancient Romans. But it appeared in North America only in the 1920s. Italian immigrants were the ones to bring it to California and start selling it. Now, the USA is the third largest producer of broccoli, after China and India. And this is what an artichoke turns into if you let it bloom. So, an artichoke is actually an unbloomed flower. It's also one of the oldest foods humans know. Remember that a pineapple takes around 2 years to produce a fruit. And a plant can only carry 3 pineapples during its life, if you're lucky. An artichoke plant grows 20 artichokes per year. Sense of direction. Back in ancient times, pigeons actually delivered mail. This is a cow's mouth. Those brushes are called conical papillae. They help a cow move food around in the mouth. Also, cows have a field of vision of 330 degrees. So there's little that can skip their attention. Remember that some turtles only need 1 hour of sleep a day? Cows sleep even less, around 30 minutes a day. And this time is divided into 6 to 10 short periods of deep sleep. These animals lie down for around 10 hours a day. But the rest of the time, they move around, covering quite long distances. And yeah, they also drink around 26 gallons of water a day. Can you guess what this is? It's sand, under 300 times magnification. Sand is rock broken into micro pieces after eroding after millions of years. Also, communities of microbes live on a single grain of sand. Things can get really small in this world. Even though there's a lot of it, sand is still a valuable material. Concrete is made out of it. And also, some countries, like the United Arab Emirates in Singapore, have shipped tons of sand to extend their territory by creating additional islands. Apparently, this is what sinuses look like. They're hollow spaces in your facial bones, behind the forehead, nose, cheekbones, and between the eyes. Those are very important, since they produce mucus, which is a fluid in your nose that filtrates, warms, and moisturizes the air you breathe in. Sinuses also help you detect tastes. Without this ability, the food would be way less delicious. This is the inside of a bowling ball. You may notice that it isn't symmetrical inside, so the weight isn't distributed evenly. This allows the ball to make curves. By the way, do you know that bowling appeared 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt? Yep, it's not a new sport, and it was popular all over the world. The rules and equipment were different everywhere, though. The first bowling lane was constructed only in the 19th century in New York. This right here is a forgotten pack of cotton candy. Bottom line, don't forget about it, otherwise it'll shrink as if it never existed. Cotton candy is only made of 2 ingredients, colored sugar and air. So now we know that the only ingredient in the world that is, so far, free: air. Also, a thread of cotton candy is actually thinner than a hair. By the way, December 7th is National Cotton Candy Day. Hope you celebrate it. If not, mark this day in your calendars for the next year. With only 2 ingredients, this stuff has 0 fat. Also, it was created by a candy maker and a dentist.
Now, bubble wrap wasn't invented just to keep your items neatly stored inside packages. It was for epic stress relief. Oh, and one other thing. Apparently, someone thought their house would look awesome with 3-dimensional wallpaper. They were going to plaster painted bubble wrap all over the walls. It didn't work, so they tried selling it as greenhouse insulation. That failed too, but they nailed it on the 3rd try. Small bubbles, big bubbles. Hey, what's your favorite? After downing a whole thing of mac and cheese, you've got to clean your teeth. It's a rule. Off you go to grab your blue toothbrush from the bathroom. Up and down, circles, rinse. Hey, good job. Now, how about a bit of mouthwash to keep your breath fresh? That mouthwash you're searching for wasn't always mouthwash. It used to be an antiseptic. You know, the type of thing doctors and nurses use to keep their hands bacteria-free. Minty. Mouthwash was also used as a floor cleaner and a cure for bad diseases. It was even marketed as a hair tonic. Hey, next time I clean my house and find myself out of cleaning products, I might just pop a few lidfuls of mouthwash into the bucket. Play-Doh. Yeah, you love it. I mean, it does whatever you want it to. Stretch it, sculpt it into a dinosaur, make the world's longest blue pasta type thing. Just don't chuck it at the walls. Unless… Yep, Play-Doh was initially supposed to be a wallpaper cleaner. And it wasn't until 20 years later that it became the clay we all love to squeeze into weird shapes. It was a popular way of getting all that soot off your wallpaper. Everyone was using coal to heat their houses back then. Rings are big business. People wear them for loads of different reasons. You spill your drink all over the tablecloth. Uh-oh, you were originally going to order water, but the waitress convinced you to order their new cherry-infused something or other that's going to stain like crazy. Well, not to worry. Cellophane was designed to tackle this exact issue. The idea was to wrap the tablecloth with it, and then any and all spills could be wiped clean. It didn't quite work out, but instead we found a great new purpose for it. Storing food, and it does the job perfectly. Plus, it's great for the odd prank now and then. You know what I mean. You know pom-poms on caps? If you've ever wondered what those are for, they're just decorative. Still, sailors used to use them a bit differently. They use them as sort of antennas, the way animals do to sense if an object is too close to them. Insects have them. Cats and other small mammals use their long whiskers to test if they can squeeze into a tight spot. And humans have pom-poms. Thanks to them, no more bumps on the head. The small square patches on a lot of backpacks nowadays are mostly decorative. Still, they used to be nice little gadgets for outdoorsy people. They used to tie extra equipment onto those squares, or use them to tie their muddy sneakers onto. They might have lost their usage over the years, but they kept their funny name. You can call them lash tabs or pig snouts. A good pair of sunglasses completes any outfit. They're not just for show. A lot of professionals rely on them. Professional drivers, pilots, construction workers, they all use them to make their jobs safer. About 1,000 years ago, judges used to wear them. Picture this, you're in a 12th century trial. Wonder how the judge is going to rule on this one. You try really hard to guess what the judge is thinking, but you can't. The judge has sunglasses on, the perfect way to hide your face while you interrogate someone. Now, don't blame that little lump on your computer cable for getting stuck somewhere for the umpteenth time. The cylinder, shapes and colors may vary, actually prevents interference from other signals, like those your phone emits. A lack of privacy in public bathrooms, I mean those large gaps beneath where normal doors tend to be, is there for a reason. This way, people do their business faster and there are fewer lines. Also, if something goes wrong, it's easy to find a person who needs help. In London, there are some poles that kind of look like street lamps, but there are no bulbs. Well, their official name is stink pipes, and they're a thing of the past now, but they used to come in handy back in the 19th century. These hollow poles would vent away the air and explosive gases with bad smells to prevent, shall we say, unwanted consequences. Blank pages in the books aren't actually for the author's signature. It's all about the manufacturing process. Books are printed on large sheets, so one sheet can fit in 4 pages. If a book has an odd quantity of printed pages, chances are you'll get a blank one for notes. Now, originally, golf balls were smooth, but some time ago, players noticed that overused balls with damages flew better than brand new ones. At some point, they started producing balls with dimples. Windshield black dots help disperse the sun glaring right into your eyes. This sort of frame keeps the UV rays away, so it serves as sunglasses for your car. The tab on the rearview mirror has obvious functions. It holds your air freshener, that cute toy. But in reality, it was meant to be a tumbler between day and night mode. It reduces the glare from the car behind you, so you can't be blinded. Colored dots on chip bags aren't as useful as those on the windshield, but they have a purpose too. Manufacturers need them to control the package color and show what ink color was used on the package. No big deal. Your microwave has a silent mode. Seriously. If those beeps drive you nuts, press 1 or 0 and hold. It might work. Also, there is sometimes a silent button you kept ignoring all this time. Anyway, there are no 2 identical microwaves, so a manual should come in handy. Grocery cart loops have more functions than you think. You don't want to put your fancy white jacket in a cart next to carrots and Coke. This little hook-like thingy helps organize all the stuff in your cart better, so you can enjoy your shopping trip. Another thingy we often neglect is a point on an ointment cap. Most tubes are usually sealed with plastic film or foil. and opening it with your fingernails isn't the best idea. A point easily opens even the most safely sealed tube. Automatic lip liners and eye pencils have a sharpener installed in the package. The lid on the back part of the pencil doesn't only reveal the color, you can pull it out and sharpen up the product. Toothpicks come in different varieties, and one of them is a bit puzzling. Sometimes they have several grooves. The first one is weak, so it's easy to break the toothpick in two. The smaller section with one more groove can be used as a stand to avoid the contact with the table. You can make a makeshift stand for disposable chopsticks. They have a sort of lump at one side before you split the pair. So next time you have a sushi dinner, try breaking off that lump instead of regular splitting. When you want to take a sushi break, just place the stick on this stand. Yeah, you've heard before that a drawer beneath your oven is there for keeping the food warm if the guests are running late. Here's one more hidden function. You can slow cook on lower temperatures in that drawer too. All the bottles used to be of the same green color once. But later it was discovered that brown ones are way better at blocking UV light. Say no more. Stickers on fruit seem to provide zero information about the product. But if you look closer, you'll find some numbers that can tell you more. A 5-digit number where the first number is 9 is a good sign. You're about to buy an organic product. A 4-digit number starting with a 3 or 4 means it was conventionally farmed, and if the number starts with an 8 and there are 5 digits, well, it's best to leave it on the shelf. A dollar has its secrets too. A large letter with a rim shows which bank is responsible for issuing this bill. There are 12 banks distributing currency. For example, the L says it was printed in San Francisco. Now, some cups look like they're chipped on the bottom, but they're produced this way. In fact, these dimples are supposed to keep the cup in place on wet surfaces, and it doesn't let excess water accumulate while it's in a dishwasher. Small hollows in a chocolate box are designed for chocolate lovers. Press the closest deepening to the chocolate that you want to grab, and it'll jump out of the box right into your hand. Bath foam can be more than just a pleasant smell. It also has a sort of thermoregulatory function. The bubbles save water heat, so you can enjoy your bath a little longer. Disclaimer: it works for acrylic bathtubs only. Those made of men who made the first pair of jeans added copper rivets to places where pants are most likely to rip. Today they have more of a decorative and distinctive purpose since they are a traditional attribute of the jeans everyone knows of. Now I'll bet you know there are extra loops on some shoes. No, they're not for sweat or ventilation. Those are extra loops for laces, just like other loops you use. But they're there to tie your shoe around the ankle to prevent your foot from moving aside. That's especially helpful if you're hiking and ascending and descending hills and trails. Now, have you ever noticed those half-belt thingies many coats and jackets have at the back? Turns out they first appeared on oversized military jackets, so the extra fabric could be collected on the back and the person doesn't stumble when working. Today, those belts are only added for the sake of style and tradition. Most clothing items you buy come with a small bag of fabric or a button, or both. These are actually not useless. Buttons obviously can be replaced if you lost the original one. Pieces of fabric can serve two purposes. You can patch up the hole, but the main purpose is to provide you with a sample of cloth, so you can use it to test different washing products on it and see what happens to the fabric. Now, pom-poms on woolen hats. Did you know that sailors were wearing hats with pom-poms in the 18th century to protect their heads in case they accidentally whacked them? Regular people were wearing them in Scotland, and the color of the pom-pom signified the person's social status. People got back to wearing hats with those cute decorative items during the Great Depression. They're made of spare yarn, so it was a cheap way to decorate your hat. Now, if you haven't noticed, some sidewalks have little plates with bumps on them. Most people don't pay much attention to them, but they're very important for visually impaired people. It signals a slope that then leads to a crosswalk. Also, several patterns signal different things. Have you noticed that the icon of a gas tank on car dashboards has a little arrow next to it? Well, the arrow has a purpose. It points at the side of the car where the gas tank is located. Very useful for forgetful people, like me, who constantly wonder which side it is on, and also for those who drive rentals once in a while. The answer is right in front of your eyes. If you can't find the arrow on your panel, then the fuel hose on the icon indicates the side instead. Now, on the back of many makeup and hygiene products, you'll find this symbol with a marking like 6M, 12M, and 24M. This is the number of months this product can serve you before you should toss it out. You might know that whistles work perfectly fine even if they don't have that ball inside. And yet they have it. But why? Even though there's a sound without the ball, the noise it creates is very flat, and it's not distinguishable enough. When the whistle has a ball inside, then it starts moving with every blow, indicating different pitches and making the noise more noticeable. Lollipop sticks have those squared holes on the end of their sticks for a reason, too. When the candy is put on the stick, some of it goes into the hole, fixating the candy part. This way, the candy ball, or whatever shape, is less likely to fall off the stick. Yeah, it's a bummer when that happens. Measuring tapes have that little metal stud on the end. Most people know that you can use it to stick it to the side of the surface you're measuring. But it's not the only cool thing about it. Look, there's also a small slot, and this slot can be used to hang it on a nail, again to free your hands and keep measuring. The bottom of the end of the tape has a ridged edge. It'll help you make a mark if you don't have a marking tool with you. Have you ever wondered why the tape's blade is curved? Well, it helps to keep it rigid when extended. Pay a closer look at the blade. Apart from numbers and markings, there are also black diamonds. Those are there every 12.2 inches, and they're useful for construction workers to space engineering joists. They can also be useful for you if you want to hang something heavy, for example. The diamond will mark the exact center of a stud, which is placed 16 inches apart from one another. And you can drill something to that center to make sure whatever you hang is safely attached. Now, most coins have ridges, and this is the legacy of the olden days. You see, back in the day, all coins were linked to a silver standard. The amount of silver used in the coin was proportionate to the value of the coin. So, the more actual silver was used to make the coin, the higher its value was. Hi-ho, Silver! Do you remember the Lone Ranger? Silver was the name of his horse. Never mind. Anyway, all the coins had precious metal in them, and some people started shaving off a little bit of silver from it. It wasn't noticeable on one, but if done on several, people could get quite a bit of that precious metal. So, to prevent fraud, the edges were made with ridges for security reasons. So, if someone attempted to shave it off, the ridges would disappear and no one would accept that coin anymore. Smart. Today, no one makes coins out of silver. The coins just represent the value. But the ridges are kind of a cultural heritage now. And finally, a typical plastic milk jug often has inverted circles on one or more of the sides. Not like alien crop circles, this dimple is there to make the jug more resistant and to prevent it from erupting in case the jug falls on the floor. The dimple gives some more space for the liquid to expand. Also, as the expiration date approaches, the microbes in the milk start to expel some gases. As there are more of them trapped inside, the pressure in the jug is rising. The dimple takes care of the expansion and prevents the jug from exploding. And the cows are utterly delighted that their hard work is not wasted.
You're shopping for a bike, and the friendly salesperson offers you to test the prototype for a new model using new technology straight out of space. It turns out you're already using some interstellar inventions on a daily basis. Regular inflatable rubber tires can't do so well on the perilous, rocky, and sandy terrains of the Moon or Mars. Curiosity Mars rover got some damage to its treads just 16 months into its mission. That's why airless tires relying on a mix of nickel and titanium were invented for NASA rovers. The material is flexible thanks to its tight molecular structure and can return to its original shape every time it deforms. The same airless technology should work great with bike tires down on Earth. The tires are tube-shaped and squash down whenever you roll over a bump. They will develop perfect shape memory over time. They're supposed to work best on gravel, trail, and mountain bikes.
When it wears off eventually, the company plans to retread the tires to get the bike back on the trail and to make it last for years. The previous airless tire models were made of patented foam, supposed to last for up to 5,000 miles. They didn't take off because they made the bike too heavy. The new model is supposed to solve that problem and give the world innovative, lightweight, and durable tires. The same tech can be used in an all-terrain car and truck tires, high-performance sports, commercial aircraft, and even search and rescue missions. You gotta thank NASA for that comfy memory foam mattress you're using every night. Back in 1966, the original idea behind memory foam was to customize seats for astronauts to somehow ease the effects of G-force on takeoff and landing. It would be too impractical to create a custom seat for every flight, so memory foam became a perfect solution. It easily adjusted to an astronaut's body shape and went back into a rest state when not in use. Memory foam became available to the general public in the early 1980s and is now used in products from mattresses and pillows to amusement park rides, horseback saddles, and football helmet liners. Lenses used to be made of ground and polished glass. In 1972, a new regulation made their manufacturers turn to plastic to make them shatter-resistant. The new lenses were too prone to scratching, so NASA's invention of a diamond hard coating for astronaut helmets and other plastic aerospace equipment came in handy. The new tech was further developed and used for the production of scratch-resistant plastics. It's now used in most sunglasses, prescription lenses, and safety lenses in the US and around the world. The next time you clean your car's interior with a dustbuster, remember, you gotta thank NASA and their Apollo space mission for it. They wanted to come up with some portable self-contained drill to extract samples from below the moon's surface. They developed a computer program to produce optimal motor power and minimize power consumption. This program was later adapted and used to create a whole series of useful battery-powered home devices. The most famous of them was the cordless miniature vacuum cleaner under the original name of Dustbuster. In case you didn't trust the name, space blankets are indeed a product of NASA research. They're lightweight, usually gold or silver in color, and capable of reflecting up to 97% of radiated heat. That's just what you need to reduce heat loss from the body and stay warm and comfy in space. The material was originally designed for the exterior surfaces of spacecraft. Now you can see marathon runners at the end of the race wrapping themselves in those blankets to regulate body temperature. It normally drops right after you stop running. Another NASA invention is insulation called radiant barrier, made from aluminized polyester. It was designed to survive in wildly cold space temperatures and is now used in most home insulation. Freeze-drying tech for food was not created but greatly improved by NASA to pack more snacks on long Apollo missions. The idea is to cook food, then freeze it under low pressure, and then slowly heat it in a vacuum chamber to remove ice crystals. To bring it back to normal, you just have to add water. Thanks to this tech, food maintains 98% of its nutritional value with only 20% of its original weight. It's a great help for backpackers, disaster relief programs, and anyone who needs to pack light and still get proper nutrition. The infrared thermometer that lets us check temperature from a distance was developed with the support of NASA as well. It measures thermal radiation emitted by your eardrum a lot like they measure the temperature of stars and planets. Each device has a lens that focuses light from the object onto a special detector that converts radiation into an electrical signal and then into temperature you can see on a display. It's used for many purposes, from monitoring hotspot temperatures in mechanical and electrical systems to checking the temperature of visitors in public spaces. In the early 1960s, headsets for airline pilots used to be really bulky. They often used handheld mics to communicate. NASA needed a more reliable and lightweight technology for their missions to ensure communication, especially in case of emergencies. They got in touch with the pilots. Just 11 days later, the team came up with a microphone headset unit that could be used by astronauts to communicate with one another and with Earth. The headset was later improved and used for Mercury and Apollo missions. The world was able to hear Neil Armstrong's most famous phrase as he landed on the moon, thanks to that wireless headset. You gotta thank NASA for the improved version you use today. The idea behind LED technology dates back to the late 1980s. Back then, NASA was looking for a way to grow plants in space.
They tested the tech using wheat and just red LEDs. It wasn't a success at first, but they solved the problem using blue fluorescent lights. The technology was developed and used in many medical devices and everyday items like electricity-saving LED bulbs. These days, they're way more efficient than their ancestors. Every time you take a selfie with your friends, you're using the tech that originated from the one for interplanetary missions cameras. NASA scientist Dr. Eric Fossum developed special active pixel sensors to make those cameras as small as possible and maintain the high image quality. This tech has become the leading one in the digital imaging industry. It made it possible to add miniature cameras to smartphones and other gadgets. Astronauts spend long periods of time in weightlessness and need a way to exercise regularly to stay in good physical shape. NASA took care of it and designed the anti-gravity treadmill, stimulating added weight and mimicking gravity. On Earth, the same method helps to lighten the load on your legs as you're working out. This tech is used by professional athletes and people trying to get back on their feet. You gotta thank NASA for your favorite pair of athletic shoes. They came up with a rubber molding process to absorb shock in space helmets and suits. The same idea was applied to athletic footwear and opened up new possibilities for professional sportsmen. And they're just way comfier for everyday use. The computer mouse was invented as part of a huge project aimed at augmenting human intellect. The inventors came to NASA in 1966 to test the mouse. It turned out the mouse was better and faster at manipulating objects on the screen than other gadgets like the light pen. The first mouse came with a cord in the front, but they moved it to the back to get it out of the way. The first patent for something that looked and worked like a joystick was filed in 1923. But it was NASA who made it something widely used. Astronauts in bulky suits needed a steering mechanism that would work with one gloved hand. The joystick was the best choice that spread to training simulators for astronauts and home computers. Invisible braces are a product of Ceradyne and NASA's Advanced Ceramics Research Program. You probably use them to straighten your teeth, but the original idea behind them was to find some material to use in structures protecting radar equipment. It had to be as transparent as possible for radar waves to pass through easily. It was doing well at its job, and in 1986, they got the idea to use this transparent and strong material in the dental industry.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Something Neil Armstrong, the first human that set foot on the surface of the moon, said. He was there with Buzz Aldrin, spending 2.5 hours on the lunar surface. Preparation for this project took a couple of years, and all the equipment the astronauts carried weighed over 170 pounds. It wasn't easy to land on the moon. There were lots of attempts in history that ended in failure. For example, astronauts in one of the Apollo programs had enough fuel to rocket people to the lunar surface in a mere 3 days. But they wanted to save on fuel, so it took them over a month to get there. There's no GPS to tell you where exactly to land. The spacecraft travels fast, and it has to slow down in a vacuum with not enough information. But since 1969, 12 people have already walked there. The moon is the only space object humans have visited so far. The rest have only been visited by robots. But all these people were just there for a short visit. NASA announced their program to work on a permanent presence on the moon. That would help scientific research and could be a good point to learn how to do the same on other missions, like the one on Mars. Imagine being the 13th person going to the moon. Scary silence, moon dust under your feet, and nothing but an endless black sky with stars all over you. But you have no time to admire the view. There are many issues you'd need to figure out before landing. First of all, our bodies are like machines that are adapted to conditions on Earth, like gravity, atmosphere, the air we breathe, and the food we eat. Our planet is where we function optimally. Our gravity is 6 times stronger than on the moon, which is, compared to our planet, almost a vacuum. Whatever you do, it wouldn't be smart to hold your breath in such conditions. The vacuum would pull the air from your body. Oxygen still present in your body would expand together with bodily fluids. They would push against the blood vessels and organ tissues. Your body, legs and arms, they would all lose their current shape and would bloat like a balloon to twice their normal size. If you stayed like that for a longer time, you wouldn't survive. But you wouldn't explode. Your skin is pretty elastic, and it would hold your body together. Liquids that are exposed to your body would evaporate. The surface of your eyes and skin, it would all boil. Saliva would literally boil on your tongue. But the blood would still be liquid. The walls of the vessels would protect it from boiling. No atmosphere, no oxygen either. The oxygen that's already in your lungs would quickly be gone, and you'd have nothing to breathe in. If your organs stopped getting oxygen, usually delivered to different parts of your body by blood, you'd pass out because your brain would shut down. It would happen in the first 15 seconds. That's how much time your body has to use the remaining oxygen in the blood to keep the brain functioning. Stay like that for a longer time, and bye-bye. No ozone layer, no strong magnetic field. The atmosphere of the moon is similar in density to those uppermost layers of the Earth's atmosphere, where we have the International Space Station. That means your body would be exposed to all those dangerous ionizing radiations from outer space we can't feel now, because layers surrounding Earth keep us safe. On Earth, our muscles and bones are tuned to resist gravitational force. Without gravity, we'd start losing muscles, and our bones would become weaker. It's like with the blobfish, a marine creature that looks like the saddest animal on Earth. This fish lives deep down in the ocean. When down there, it looks like most other fish, just slightly scarier. But when it's out in the fresh air, it becomes flat, and its entire body looks like some weird, sad pudding, all due to differences in pressure. The moon would make you look like a blobfish because of drastic changes in atmospheric pressure. There's no pressure that would hold your body together. While on Earth, a column of air presses an approximate mass of 15 to 20 tons on the entire surface of your body. We don't notice this because this air pillar presses the body equally from all sides. There's air inside your body too. Internal pressure is the same as the atmosphere. And on the lunar surface, there's no pressure from outside to back it up. It's also really cold up there. Temperature drastically changes from 250 degrees Fahrenheit during the day to negative 208 degrees Fahrenheit when it's night. A day on the moon lasts 29 Earth days. That means you'd be spending 14 and a half days in unbearable light, and the next 14 and a half days in scary cosmic darkness. Your body could eventually freeze solid if it's nighttime, the same as in other places in space. Depending on where exactly you're at, this would happen within 12 to 26 hours. Or, if you visited the moon during just one regular afternoon, you'd be burnt to a crisp. It's better to do what Apollo 11 did and come at dawn. The lunar surface isn't so cold yet, and it didn't have enough time to become extremely warm. Even if you survived all this, there are millions of meteor strikes every year. All those small particles of rock or dust that move pretty fast, or even orbiting debris from spacecraft or satellites. A human being wouldn't be able to survive in these conditions for more than 1 minute. To make it and stay a little bit longer on the moon, the first thing you'd have to take care of is getting protection from radiation. You'd need simulated atmospheric pressure similar to Earth's, and it has to be stable. You'd have to maintain the temperature of your environment, so your body doesn't freeze or burn out. Protection from space debris and cosmic dust, breathable oxygen. Oh yeah, you'd also need a communication system, water, food, and maybe some other things that you'd need to function normally. In 1982, NASA started using an extravehicular mobility unit, EMU, for their activities in outer space. The latest Artemis mission has spurred the development of a new generation of spacesuit. The XEMU is an amazing new generation suit that they came up with. It will probably be deployed within a couple of years. The suit has supplies of oxygen, both for breathing and for maintaining the pressure that holds your body together. One part, the liquid cooling garment of the suit, is form-fitting, which means it fits your body shape and has a system that receives cold water and then circulates it across the whole suit. That's how it maintains a temperature of around 70 degrees Fahrenheit. The water absorbs heat and then moves to the second part, the XPLSS of the suit. The moon is our planet's only permanent natural satellite, the second densest satellite right after Jupiter's moon Io. It was formed in a collision known as the Big Whack. A huge Mars-sized space object hit our planet 4.6 billion years ago, shortly after we got the solar system and the sun. a cloud of vaporized rock was formed, made of a mix of particles from Earth and the other object. It went into orbit around our planet, cooled down, and turned into a ring of small solid bodies. They later got together, which is how the moon was formed. The moon has some cool things, like unusual water that moves and jumps around as its surface gets warmer and cooler throughout the day. The water is there until some of it melts, heats up, and ends in the moon's atmosphere. The water...
Zumo, an architectural practice in Barcelona, used the magic of AI to bring these wobbly structures to life. These inflatable superstructures rise above future cities like illuminated balloons in the sky. Here's the best part. These inflatable buildings have sustainability superpowers. You can pump them up to towering heights, flatten them for easy transportation, and rebuild them wherever they're needed. Plus, they're powered by renewable energy, reducing their impact on the environment. Pretty cool, right? Phew, the future is zooming toward us like a rocket. Artificial intelligence can become the secret sauce that makes architects' work extra special. But hey, with great power comes great responsibility. We need to use AI wisely and ethically. For now, we don't have to worry about machines replacing architects. Artificial intelligence still needs a human hand, or else we might end up with buildings that look like mashed up bananas or ice cream cones, unless that's your thing. In addition, humans have one important advantage. They, well, are humans. We need to keep in mind that artificial intelligence doesn't have emotional intelligence. It's a brainy genius, but it can't fully understand the feelings and vibes we humans crave in our spaces. So, we must remember to infuse our designs with that human touch, those warm and fuzzy elements that make us go, "Ah, I feel right at home." And let's not forget that AI is still learning. It's basically just taking its first steps, and we need to be patient and give it time to grow. Rushing things too quickly could lead to wonky designs or buildings that look like a jumbled puzzle. This might look cool if you like avant-garde architecture, but for regular folk, no thanks. So, as the future unfolds at warp speed, let's embrace the wonders of AI in architecture. But let's also remember to balance its brilliance with our own human touch. Together, we can create a future where buildings are not just functional, but also filled with heart and soul. It's an adventure that's out of this world. Imagine that it's the year 2025, and our planet has completely changed. Rising sea levels, extreme weather, and the ocean becoming more and more acidic are just some of the problems people have been dealing with for years. But in one of the world's largest coastal cities, the situation has become too serious. It was a sunny day in June when a massive earthquake shook the city to its core. The ground beneath people's feet heaved and shook, and buildings swayed dangerously. People ran through the streets in panic, trying to find safety. But as soon as the ground settled, the inhabitants of the city realized the real danger. A wall of water, almost 100 feet high, was rushing toward the city, propelled by the force of the earthquake. The tsunami hit the city with unimaginable force. Entire neighborhoods were wiped out, and thousands of people lost their lives. But here's where things get interesting. In the aftermath of the disaster, the city's authorities realized that they couldn't just rebuild the city as it was before. They needed to be better prepared for the next potential disaster. And so they came up with an incredibly ambitious project to build an underwater city. The goal was to create a self-sufficient, sustainable city beneath the ocean's surface that could withstand any natural disaster. The underwater city would be powered by renewable energy, using tidal power and underwater solar panels. It would be designed to withstand extreme weather and would have its own emergency response systems. The project attracted some of the world's top scientists, engineers, and architects. They worked tirelessly to design the city and carefully considered every aspect of the project. The underwater city would have everything that a typical city had, from schools and hospitals to stores and restaurants. There would be underwater farms where fish and other marine creatures could grow. The city would even have its transportation system, advanced submarines, and underwater tunnels connecting different parts of the city. The project became a shining beacon of hope for people. It showed that even in the face of disaster, we could come together to create something amazing. But as time went on, the project no longer seemed so perfect. The cost of the project turned out to be higher than planned. There were also concerns about how long such a project would exist. After all, the ocean is very unpredictable. And still, The team of scientists and engineers never gave up. After years of trial and error, they finally created the perfect underwater city, a marvel of engineering, a self-contained ecosystem that could sustain people indefinitely. The buildings were constructed from a material that could withstand the immense pressure at the bottom of the ocean, and the city itself was powered by a network of advanced hydroelectric turbines. It wasn't long before the first wave of colonists arrived at the underwater city. There were different people in this group, and each of them had their own reasons for choosing to live in this new world beneath the waves. Some were adventurers seeking a new world to explore, while others were hoping to escape natural disasters raging on dry land. But despite their differences, all these people shared a common goal: to build a new society, one that was in harmony with the natural world. The underwater city flourished, and new discoveries were made every day. The colonists developed new technologies and ways to tame the power of the ocean. They learned to farm the sea and started cultivating underwater gardens that provided them with a steady food supply. But living underwater was challenging. People felt isolated and even claustrophobic. The situation came to a head when a group of activists started to protest against the city's expansion plans. They argued that the underwater city was a threat to the environment it was meant to protect, and that the colonists should focus on reducing their impact on the delicate underwater life. The protests sparked a heated debate among the colonists. Some of them argued that the survival of the city depended on its growth and expansion. Others claimed that the city needed to prioritize the protection of the environment above all else. In the end, a compromise was reached. The city would continue to expand, but the main priority would be sustainability and a responsible attitude to nature. The colonists would do their best to reduce their impact on the environment by using new technologies and following strict conservation rules. And they would also remember the importance of protecting the ocean and its fragile ecosystem. Years went by, and the underwater city continued to thrive. New generations of colonists were born, and they grew up in a world entirely different from the one their ancestors had known. They never saw the world on the surface, but appreciated the beauty and complexity of the underwater world they called home. And as the years passed, the city became a symbol of hope for a world struggling with the devastating effects of climate change. It showed that despite all difficulties, people could come together to create a better world. It is a reminder that the future is not set in stone, and that we can build it sustainably and in harmony with the natural world.
The most incredible technology for transporting things and people could be teleportation. Unfortunately, we won't see a teleportation machine in the near future. But we will be able to ride perfect self-driving cars with autopilots on the road and in the air. We will also ride flying motorcycles and take a vacuum train to get from New York to Los Angeles in just a few minutes. So, let's start with self-driving cars. The principle of operation of almost all such vehicles is the same. The car has cameras and sensors, high-precision maps, and radars that scan the situation on the road. A common system unites such machines. Each of them knows where the others are, and this prevents accidents or traffic jams. Of course, today's cars with autopilot are not so impressive. Many people drive them. But imagine what will happen when all vehicles on Earth get united by a common artificial intelligence. People will forget about traffic jams forever. Computers will predict dangerous situations and prevent them. But what will people do on the road if they don't drive cars? The developers will focus on passenger entertainment. The car will be able to tell you the exact time of the trip. Do you need to arrive at noon? Flies through the entire area because small holes all over the field release a thin layer of air. The puck doesn't touch the field itself, it levitates. There's no friction, so it just moves around the area. The Hyperloop works on a similar principle, but the air is coming from the capsule, not from the tube. Thus, a tiny distance appears between the capsule's walls and the tunnel. And with the help of an electric motor, the train is set in motion. Okay, we figured out the friction force, but what about air resistance? The fact is that at very high speeds, large objects can't move quickly if the air is very dense. You literally crash into the air, and it limits your speed. Standard airplanes fly at an altitude with much lower air density to develop high speed. That's why the Hyperloop will move inside the pipe. Special equipment pumping the air out of this pipe will work on certain sections of this route, but some air will still be there since creating a complete vacuum requires a lot of energy. A special fan on the train's nose will move all the incoming air under the capsule. The movement of a vacuum train resembles the work of pneumatic mail. This is when parcels pass through pipes installed in a building, and these parcels move through the pipes thanks to air compression. The Hyperloop should work using solar panels installed on the roof of the pipe. Elon Musk has long come up with this idea, but its development has some difficulties. The air gap between the tube and the capsule must always be the same. Any pipe crack, bump, or stone can destroy the entire structure. What if a small earthquake happens somewhere? But if engineers manage to develop this technology, we will be traveling from Los Angeles to New York in just a few minutes.
You're standing on the roof of a control tower at the airport. You see a huge plane coming in for a landing. It's whizzing over your head, but all you hear is the wind whistling. The first sound the plane makes is the scraping of the tires against the asphalt. That's because this giant airplane runs on electricity. It doesn't need to burn tons of fuel. And it doesn't attract the attention of passersby with its noise as it flies over the city. But engineers predict that all-electric airplanes won't appear for another couple of decades. For now, the Dreamliner 787, which can carry 310 passengers and emits no pollution, remains a sweet dream for designers. Let's jump back in time to 140 years ago. In 1883, a French aviation enthusiast, as of 2020, it's undergoing certification. As of 2020, it's undergoing certification. This means that every bolt and wire on the plane is tested for safety. This process could take years. ES-19 is an all-electric 4-engine airplane. The aluminum hull makes it extremely light. Although the price per unit is about $8.8 million, its maintenance costs are 90% less than regular airplanes. And electric power for the plane itself is 50 to 75% cheaper than standard fuel. It'll be able to cover distances of about 220 miles. It's great for traveling in Europe or between remote islands. And it can use runways no longer than 2,500 feet. Given that these planes are practically silent, airports could be built close to city centers. This would cut travel time almost in half. Eviation Alice has taken another step into the future. This 9-seat plane is made almost entirely of composite materials and powered by 3 engines. The inverted boat shape and V-shaped tail make its aerodynamics perfect. It has the length of a school bus and the wingspan as wide as a basketball court. Its maximum takeoff weight is like 2 SUVs. 60% of that weight is batteries. This gives it the ability to fly distances of about 620 miles. That's more than the distance from New York to Detroit. The best thing about the Eviation Alice is the economy. Flying 9 passengers and 2 crew at top speed will cost about $200 an hour. For conventional planes of the same class, like Cessna and Beechcraft, that number would be about 5 times bigger. The problem of short-range flights can be solved by a network of abandoned airports in the United States. There are about 2,000 of them and 5,000 public airports. Each of them can be equipped with a charging station, just like a gas station. A half hour at a charging station for Alice would be equal to 1 hour of flying in the air. So while passengers are getting off and on and their luggage is being loaded, the plane can build up enough energy to fly. So, small planes are good as an air taxi or private jet. But you need at least 20 Eviation Alice planes to replace a full-fledged Boeing 737 with 180 passengers. The price for one electric bird is $4 million. So that's $80 million versus $100 million for one Boeing. So the Alice wins again. Zunum Aero tried to build an electric plane that could carry 50 passengers. The company first went for a 12-seat ZA-10 airplane. It was a hybrid, powered by the combined work of traditional and electric engines. Engineers relied on evolving batteries and predicted that their plane would be able to travel 1,000 miles. So it could fly from LA to Seattle on a single charge. And it would only have to cost $500,000 more than Alice. The big 50-seat plane should have worked on the same principle. But the company lost funding before they could introduce the finished plane. Maybe we can create an all-electric plane that doesn't have any moving parts at all. It would use ionic wind. MIT engineers created a lightweight model of an airplane with a wingspan of about 16 feet and no engine. There's a metal structure similar to a fence between the wings of the plane. A battery powers this structure with negatively charged electricity of 40,000 volts. There's the same structure in the back of the wing, which was positively charged. When the structure is powered, its front end captures negatively charged electrons from the air, just like a magnet. The electrons then fly toward the positively charged structure at the back. As the ions move, they collide with air molecules millions of times. This creates thrust, just like a regular airplane. And as it moves, it keeps charging the particles in the air and pushing them back. Engineers from MIT did about 10 test flights. Their plane was able to fly almost 200 feet on ion thrust. But their model airplane only weighed 5 pounds, and it flew without a pilot. The lightest manned airplane in the world, the BD-5J, weighs 7 times more, so it should have giant wings to fit this metal structure for ion thrust. And the voltage in that structure would have to be much higher to create enough thrust to let the plane take off. So this technology needs many years to develop and refine before it can be tested on real-scale airplanes. Right now, one of the most reliable and economical electric engine schemes is to work together with traditional propellers or turbines. An airplane can use an electric motor for a quick and quiet takeoff. It'll gain altitude and leave the airspace of a densely populated city. Then, it'll start the main engines, which run on fuel combustion. This will allow the plane to reach high speed and fly a long distance. During this time, the plane's batteries will be charged by the generator powered by the main engine. When it's time to land, the main engines stop, and the plane lands completely silently with the electric engine. So, we're gradually moving toward making airplanes fully electric and silent. Then we can locate airports closer to city centers. This will save travel time and reduce the amount of harmful gases emitted into the Earth's atmosphere.
You're traveling by train and hear the wheels banging against the tracks, but suddenly the train rises and gains altitude. None of the passengers scream in panic because this is a regular thing now. Well, maybe not yet, but it might become our reality anytime soon. Aka Technologies Company is developing such a project. Their goal is to reduce travel time and make trips more comfortable. To travel today, you need to get to the airport, spend a few hours there at the check-in and security check. And only after that can you board the plane. When the plane lands, you need to go through standard airport procedures again and then get to the city. Only after this, your trip is over. It means you use at least 3 different types of transport. But with Link and Fly from Aka Technologies, you can get to your destination without any transfers. This is a train the size of an Airbus A320. It's as long as 4 school buses and can hold about 162 passengers. Once you reach it, you take your seat along with the other passengers. Countdown. Ignition. The rocket takes off and reaches space. It's now traveling at about 16,800 miles per hour. When in orbit, the launch vehicle undocks from the passenger rocket and heads back to the landing station. There, it will be refueled and prepared for the next launch. At this time, the rocket with the passengers will use its own engine to fly around Earth. It re-enters the atmosphere and lands on a platform on the water near Shanghai. This flight takes only 39 minutes compared to the 15 hours a conventional airplane needs. But there's a downside to such trips. A rocket makes a lot more noise, so landing platforms have to be far away from the cities. This will increase travel time. The other problem is G-force. Standing on the ground, you feel 1 G. When you take off in a normal airplane, you feel about 1.5 G. But when you travel by rocket, the G-force you'll experience will be twice as strong. And if it reaches 5 G, you'll pass out. Back to the ground. In 2010, the number of cars in the world exceeded 1 billion. And by 2030, this number is expected to double. So, we need to fight constant traffic jams on the roads. The elevated bus could be a great solution for that. This thing doesn't actually look like a bus. It's 2 lanes wide and can consist of several cars. Such a bus will be able to carry up to 1,200 passengers at maximum capacity. And it will run on regular roads. We'll need to equip the roads along its route with rails on both sides. The elevated bus itself will move at about 6.5 feet above the road. This is comparable to riding on the 2nd floor of a London double-decker bus. And it won't interfere with traffic on the road. Regular cars will still be able to drive there. The elevated bus will be all electric and driven by autopilot.
Its roof will have a large area entirely covered by solar panels. On cloudy days, it'll be powered directly from the rails. Passenger boarding will take place at special stations located above ground. For emergencies, there will be an inflatable ramp light in the middle of the bus. This way, passengers will be able to leave the bus safely. Some concepts of such a bus even suggest that the racks with the wheels should be able to rise, for example, to bypass an obstacle. If some car breaks down right in the way of the elevated bus, it'll lift one wheel rack, move forward, and lower the wheels back onto the rails. Then it'll do the same with the rear rack. This way, the bus will be able to move around the city at about 37 miles per hour. It's faster than driving in a traffic jam. Another option to avoid traffic is tunnels. You would be able to travel through them in your own car. A hypothetical tunnel system under large cities would have multiple entry points. You'd drive your car onto a special platform, and the platform would then be lowered down. It would accelerate in the tunnel to 124 miles per hour. You'd be able to get to the other end of the city in just a few minutes. The platform would then lift your car back to the surface, and you'd keep driving to your final destination. Tunnels can also be the future of traveling between cities. First, you'd have to arrive at some sort of a train station. There, you'd board a passenger pod. These pods would hold 4 to 6 passengers. Then it'd follow the tunnel, dock into a pod cluster, and connect with the transporter capsule. Special pumps would suck the air out of the tunnel, and the transporter capsule would move in an almost complete vacuum. Theoretically, this train would be able to reach speeds that are faster than those of commercial airplanes, and even faster than the speed of sound. So you could get from New York City to Los Angeles in 3.5 hours, compared to 6 hours by a conventional airplane. After reaching its destination, the transporter capsule would open and the passenger pods would arrive at the station. In the future, these pods would be able to travel even on conventional roads. So you just need to order such a passenger pod to your home, just like a cab. This way, you'd have the opportunity to cross the United States from coast to coast without any transfers.
If you've ever seen the second Terminator movie, you probably remember this guy, T-1000. The main character, so brilliantly played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, had a mission, and it was to protect Sarah and John Connor from that robot. It's much stronger than any human, bending steel with its bare hands and throwing much larger robots around. But its coolest feature is the ability to change its shape. Made of liquid metal, it can recover even after severe damage. You can say it's just another sci-fi movie, but hear me out. Scientists managed to create something similar to T-1000 in real life. They invented a material, which is a mix of metals with some pretty because they're really good at logistics and manufacturing. They conduct whole orchestras, dive under the sea, help older people. Hey, is there something they aren't good at? Should we start worrying that we'll be replaced by them soon? While AI is becoming better and better, it's still luckily unlikely. Machines still don't have emotional intelligence and decision-making skills like humans. They're super smart, but they simply have no motivation to take over the world unless humans tell them to do so. And even if one AI system or app decides to break free and rule the universe, it's unlikely powerful enough to do it. So breathe out. One thing those humanoids have mastered, though, is a sense of humor. When a man approached a robot at a trade show in Las Vegas, asking if she had a boyfriend, the machine responded that she was unfortunately not on the market, as robots don't have relations. Getting rejected by AI. Talk about 21st century problems. The heartbreaking robot's name was Amica. Its creators, the British company Engineered Arts, call it the world's most advanced humanoid robot. It's so detailed and lifelike that I'm not surprised that guy wanted to hit on it. Amica has a whole emotional spectrum and can show realistic astonishment and surprise and whatnot. It even yawns, shrugs, blinks, and scratches its nose. Amica's eyes have cameras, so it can remember your face and track it. That's why talking to it doesn't feel like staring at a gadget screen. It can also detect objects like a human finger in front of its face, so it will react when you approach it. This beauty is not hard to operate at all. It relies on cloud-based firmware that updates itself, and even a totally non-tech-savvy person can use Ameca. You can control your robot from anywhere by simply logging into its software system. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, and your robot assistant is greeting guests and presenting your project without your physical presence. Its AI is so advanced that you can use it to work on 2 different tasks at the same time. It can even single out a more important task and make it its priority. If you feel like purchasing an Ameca, be prepared to pay over $100,000. Atlas, a humanoid designed by Boston Dynamics, can run up and down the stairs, jump between levels, and pick up, carry, and throw heavy things at the right distance. Atlas can grip things using 1 fixed finger and 1 moving finger. All of this makes it an ideal warehouse helper. Its latest achievement is an inverted 540-degree multi-axis flip. It was as complicated for engineers to program the robot to do it as it sounds. And Atlas doesn't just move like a parkour champion. It can also plan the most efficient route to get from point A to point B, considering the surroundings. It also remembers when it makes a mistake or has to overcome some obstacle. It activates all of its components to maintain balance. Because all those components are 3D printed, Atlas isn't that heavy, just 196 pounds with a height of 4 feet 9 inches. Since this smart robotic guy is a research platform, you can't purchase it just yet. The engineers keep improving it, and maybe soon it will be able to walk out of the warehouse and start its own logistics company. And then you won't want to purchase Atlas, but could end up sending it your resume.
The year is 2160. The place, the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Japan. The ocean seems calm, at least the surface does. The ocean floor is cracking right now. Boom! The earth opens up, magma shoots out. The crack in the ocean floor triggers an earthquake, and a massive amount of energy shoots into the ocean. And now for gravity to get involved. It pulls the water down and makes it move faster and faster. It's a tsunami. A wave as high as a skyscraper plows toward Tokyo at 500 miles per hour. That's millions of tons of water. It would be awesome to take a picture of it, but there's no time to admire the power of nature. The tsunami's about to hit Tokyo Bay. The tsunami smashes ashore and starts attacking the largest structure on the planet, the Tokyo Pyramid Metropolis. It's 6,600 feet tall. That's 5 times the height of the Empire State Building. Imagine if the entire population of Denver, Colorado lived and worked in one building. The Tokyo Pyramid Metropolis, TPM, can handle 750,000 people at a time. Incredibly, the structure withstands the impact, and most of the tsunami's energy seems to have just disappeared. This time, engineering stands up to nature. TPM was built by the Shimizu Corporation, which was founded in 1804. The pyramid is the most stable structure around. If you don't believe me, go to Egypt and see the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's lasted 4,500 years and it's still going strong. The TPM is built on water and consists of 204 individual pyramids. They look like bunches of grapes stacked on top of each other, 8 tiers in all. Only in this case, each grape is the size of a Vegas casino. The TPM's actually hollow. That's how it defends itself against typhoons and tsunamis. It doesn't meet the wind and waves head-on, but lets all that energy just pass right through it. Robots and autonomous control systems run this place. It runs on solar, wind, and wave energy. The pyramids are connected by passages, all in all about 85 miles worth. They connect everything and are maintained by AI that always finds you the fastest way to get from Pyramid A to Pyramid B. The TPA's obviously the city of the future, but human tech isn't quite ready for it just yet. Originally, engineers decided to install the pyramid on 36 columns, all dug into the ocean bed. If you build a pyramid that size out of steel and concrete, you'd be looking at 50 million tons of load press in on itself. The TPM would have collapsed under its own weight and imploded into the ocean. They needed something 1,000 times lighter than concrete and stronger than steel. So, what's this futuristic material? Look at this old guy. It's the first car on the planet with an internal combustion engine. It hit the road in 1885. And this is the first artificial satellite that humans launched into space. It only took an evolutionary blip to go from the first horseless carriage to our first flight into space. That TPM's not looking so ridiculous. Hey, we can do anything. The solution is carbon, and it's everywhere. It's the rod in your pencil, and the diamond in your crown or ring or industrial drill. But we don't just need ordinary carbon, we need graphene. It's a type of carbon we can make nanotubes out of. They're thinner than a human hair, but 400 times stronger than steel. And most importantly, they're light. Nanotubes aren't affected by chemicals, oxygen, or water. Perfect for the TPM. That's just a fancy way of saying the thing's not going to rust. Shimizu has plans for a power station on the moon, an underwater city, transforming the Sahara Desert into a huge oasis, and much more. But they aren't the only ones changing the planet. The Netherlands is the size of 2 New Jerseys, and about 30% of it is below sea level. To protect their country from water, the Dutch built dams, lots of them. But that's just defense. In 1986, they decided to go on offense and take back some of the land from the sea. The first dam was 19 miles long. It basically turned a bay into a lake. The second